You know, this Nintendo Labo VR really isn't all it's cracked up to be. I think I'd prefer to play my games the old-fashioned way. Did I get a new couch? Sweet. Two years ago, we were introduced to the Nintendo Switch, the console that was supposed to make us forget the Wii U ever existed, even though it's constantly been reminding us that the Wii U existed. At the time, it just seemed like another quirky little game machine from the folks over in Kyoto, but they really weren't messing around this time. By now, the Switch has already sold millions of units worldwide, it's had a well-executed marketing campaign to back it up, and so many great games have been made for it, with even more great games still on the way. Marvel? Animal Crossing? My fiancé? Hell yeah! Oops, did I say fiancé out loud? Spoiler alert! This system's come a long way since it was first released, and we barely had any idea what its future had in store. We knew the Switch was gonna have an impressive library if games like Super Mario Odyssey were anything to go by, but with some fantastic ports of already fantastic titles, not to mention all the grade A first-party originals, an extensive amount of third-party support, which Nintendo hasn't seen in over a decade, and a slew of excellent indie games available on the eShop, all on a console that can be taken and played with anytime, anywhere? I think it's safe to say we have a hit on our hands. Now, in case you couldn't tell from looking at the title, I already made a video on the Switch back when it was still relatively new in August of 2017. It was a basic overview of the system itself and a couple games for it. So if you don't mind looking at stupid haircuts and hideous shades of orange, feel free to go check it out. After I made that video, the Switch's hardware hasn't gone through that many changes, but there have been some new features added through system updates, like added support for the GameCube controller adapter. You can also categorize games by title, publisher, times played, or hours played. Then there was some cardboard, there's a VR headset now, people started hating on the 3DS for some reason, hashtag Viva la 3DS. And now there's this zooming function that allows me to get good shots of— okay, I'm sorry, it's only for a joke! Since my first Switch video was more focused on the console in general, this one's gonna be more of a showcase of different games I've been playing over these past couple years. But before we get into that, there's one thing that I'm sure a lot of you want me to bring attention to first.
Nintendo Switch Online.
Ah yes, Nintendo Switch Online. The news of Nintendo making the Switch to a paid online service wasn't exactly met with universally positive responses, as this like-to-dislike ratio will no doubt clue you in. It didn't really bother me a whole lot, since Sony and Microsoft have already been doing this for years, and with the Switch's more hardcore demographic compared to systems like the Wii and especially the Wii U, to me it just kinda made sense. Plus it's only $20 a year, so at least it's not gonna cripple my wallet too much. What might have thrown people off about this was the incentive you would get from paying for the service. Nintendo Switch Online members have exclusive access to a library of NES games, with new games added every month. I say it threw people off because it essentially replaces the idea of virtual console games. And yeah, I wish they stuck with that concept too, but this is still pretty neat. Members can even buy these sweet NES-style controllers for a more authentic experience. And I don't care if they cost more, they're still frickin' worth it. Look, they even have their own icon on the home menu. That's adorable! NES Online has a ton of different games available, ranging from classics like Super Mario Bros. To staples of meme culture like Zelda 2. They even have pro wrestling? Oh man, this game really brings me back. I've had a physical copy of it for 9 years, and I used to play it all the time with my brother, so it's really surreal for me to be playing it on an HD TV with super sharp visuals. Winner is me indeed. There are also special versions of certain games with added bonuses, like a version of Metroid where Samus starts out with all her weapons, and a version of Kid Icarus where Pit has all the sacred treasures. Yet he still never learned how to read. Best of all, you can play these games with other players online. Only with friends. And I forgot to ask any of my friends to help me get footage for this video. Dangly dangly dong it. Everything else is pretty standard. You can make save states, you have different filters to pick from. As it stands, it's a nice reward for Switch Online members. And the games are free, so you're really only paying for the service. Shut up, Discord! I still sort of wish they continued with the Virtual Console, but if Nintendo's going to keep putting out retro games this way, I'd like to see them add more consoles like the Super Nintendo or maybe even the GameCube. Imagine playing Mario Party online. I can't because I'll be busy playing the better ones.
That's about it for Nintendo Switch Online. I didn't want to give it too much attention because I really just wanted to put more time into looking at the games. As for which games I'm going to talk about, I thought it'd be fun to go through mostly indie titles. That way I can shed some light on games that deserve more recognition, whether for better or worse. But first, here's a quick rundown on some other games that I couldn't give dedicated spots to for this video, but were still worth mentioning nonetheless. Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. I've never played a Shantae game before this, but I thought it was pretty good. Dust, an Elysian Tale. I love how it handles, love how it looks, love how it feels. My friend Lizzie is in it. It's a great game. Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. It's a super fun platformer with the potential to trigger a lawsuit from Disney and Capcom. Kirby Star Allies. It's a classic Kirby game with plenty of fan service to warrant a spot on your shelf and a place in your heart. Levels Plus. Way too addicting for its own good. Seriously, somebody help me. I think I've been brainwashed. Versus Super Mario Bros. It's an arcade version of the original NES game with a few slight changes made to the level design. A dentist office I used to go to growing up had the original arcade cabinet in the waiting room. That's how I was able to play it. It's really fun, and I say go check it out. Oh, that's it? That was slightly easier than I thought it would be. Well, on that note, let's get on with the show.
Seeing as how I started the last Switch video with an Inti Creates title, it's only appropriate that I start this one with another Inti Creates title. Even better, it's the sequel to that game, Blaster Master Zero 2. The gameplay is similar to the first one, but this time the Sophia tank has something called a Gaia system that gives it more energy when it lands from a large height with a hard enough impact. If only Jason worked the same way. He's still prone to falling damage, and I will forever remain confused as to why. Oh, sorry, his name's not Jason, it's Jason! I loved Blaster Master Zero when it first came out, but I haven't gotten very far into the second game, primarily because of how much harder it is. The difficulty was cranked up way higher from the first game, almost annoyingly so. I guess it's like Lost Levels, where it seems to cater more to those who mastered the previous one, and I don't mind that the sequel's harder, but I was not expecting it to throw me for a loop in the first 15 minutes. It was honestly kind of overwhelming. Suffice to say, I'm gonna need more time with this. But I'm on a bit of an Inti Creates high at the moment, so let's boot up Mighty Gunvolt Burst. It's pretty much a Mega Man game with better controls and different characters with their own separate stories that all probably tie in together somehow. The one that interested me the most was Beck from Mighty No. 9, because playing as him ultimately turns the game into something Mighty No. 9 most definitely wishes it was. He doesn't have his dash ability, but Beck can still run, jump, and shoot things. There are also different foods scattered throughout each stage that you can hold in an inventory, so if you're low on health, you can pause, select a food to eat, and then you get food poisoning or something? I don't know. What I do know is that Mighty Gunvolt Burst is a ton of fun. I haven't experimented with most of the other characters, so I have more of a reason to keep playing it. Alright, the last Inti Creates title I have here is Bloodstained, Curse of the Moon. This is a prequel to the upcoming Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, a spiritual successor to Castlevania, so immediately I was interested in trying this out. Since Ritual of the Night is being made in the style of Metroidvania games like Symphony of the Night, logically, Curse of the Moon is a throwback to classic Castlevania, complete with no mid-air control whatsoever. But it also has the partner system from Castlevania 3. When you defeat a boss at the end of each area, you rescue the person trapped inside and recruit them to your party. Or, even cooler, you can kill them to absorb their spirit and gain a new ability. I'm glad I kept Miriam alive, though. She carries a whip like any member of the Belmont clan, and she also has a sliding ability. You can switch between any character on the fly, and they each have their own life bars, which, is pretty handy. Curse of the Moon is not a cakewalk by any means, but it never feels cheap or unfair. It's a great time from the second you press the start button.
The hell was that? Now then, where were we?
Next up, we have a game called Night Terrors. This one comes to us from the people at Freak Zone Games, who also developed the Angry Video Game Nerd Adventures and its sequel. You're a knight who can't stop running for whatever reason, and you have to kill all the monsters coming toward you. You have one button to jump and one button to attack. It's incredibly simple in its design, almost like it was made for mobile devices. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it was. Monsters come in the form of zombies, bats, ghosts, giant flaming skulls, and aliens. The usual suspects. Good movie, by the way. Killing enemies and jumping over obstacles give you points, and getting a high enough score lets you unlock new modes, like this one called Flight Terrors. It's basically Flappy Bird on steroids. Oh god, Flappy Bird. Remember when everyone was going crazy over it and spending thousands of dollars on eBay to buy a used phone that had that game on it? No? Good. We were stupid back then. Night Terrors is perfect for on-the-go gaming. If you're looking for something to give you short but sweet bursts of entertainment, this is right up your alley. And since 8-bit platformers are the only thing indie studios seem to ever want to make, let's take a look at Miles and Kilo. It's another run-and-jump game where you take control of a boy named Miles as you guide him from point A to point B. Along the way, he can pick up fruit like Master Higgins in Adventure Island, only the fruit doesn't give you points, you throw it at enemies. Sometimes you might get to the goal by riding on a surfboard, and other times you'll get some help from your dog Kilo, who pulls you on a leash and apparently also has Sonic's homing attack, as he can home in on bad guys and bounce off of them.
Rolling around at the speed of blur.
Dying is simply a slap on the wrist in this game. You have infinite lives, so you can play through levels as many times as you want. With that said, you might find yourself dying a lot. Miles and Kilo is not a game you can take your time with. You just keep going right and don't think about what you're doing. It also tends to throw a lot of crap at you, like it expects the player to have godlike reflexes. I can get through it just fine, but there are moments where it gets a little too fast for me to catch up. It is quite exhilarating, but maybe I should play something more calmingly absurd, like, oh, sir, the insult simulator. It's exactly what it sounds like. You and a friend pick from a roster of different characters and compete to see who can roast the other person harder. You each take turns picking phrases to add to your insult, and the more insulting it is, the more damage you deal. You also get bonus points for picking insults directly related to the other player's character, like how sensitive they are about their age or how much money they have. The game's simplicity is only bested by its delightfully British sense of humor. One stage starts with a character admitting to killing a man and using his corpse as a tea table, and another stage takes place in a pet shop where the characters have an exchange that might sound familiar to Monty Python fans.
I wish to complain about this parrot I purchased.
The Norwegian Blue? What's wrong with it?
It's dead. That's what's wrong with it.
There's another game called, oh, sir, the Hollywood Roast, and it's pretty much the same idea, but with a movie theme.
Your face had an embarrassing cameo in an M. Night Shyamalan plot twist.
This is wonderful.
I love these kind of games where they're very tongue-in-cheek and don't take themselves too seriously. More thought-provoking games like Celeste or Life is Strange definitely have their place in the industry, but I can appreciate when developers just want to goof around and let their freak flag fly.
This is one of those games, Superola and the Lost Burgers. A race of hot dog aliens arrive in this place called Miracle Land and steal all their hamburgers, so now it's up to a llama named Superola to get them back. All your burgers belong to us. Oh boy, we're in for a doozy. It's an auto-running game like Night Terrors, only you're a llama. and you can fire lasers from your mouth, shoot to whoop style. How many times you can do this depends on how many burgers you're holding, so it's like throwing fruit in miles and kilo, but with... If you have any burgers left when you reach the end of the stage, they're converted into coins that can be used to buy special items from the bazaar. You can also obtain items by touching this box at the end of each stage, like a pair of sunglasses that lets you take an extra hit and also turns you into the coolest in the history of llamas. Godzilla shows up in the background at one point, Doge gives you a skateboard. Such dank, much wow. And there's not much else I can say except you're a llama collecting burgers, firing lasers, and occasionally destroying cars. Superola and the Lost Burgers is the ultimate definition of screw it, why not? And frankly, I feel very fortunate to be living in a time where games like this can exist. This kind of weirdness needs to be preserved.
It belongs in a museum!
But we need to make like Troy Bolton and get our heads back in the game. Specifically this one, Pixel Action Heroes. This is the game that made me want to make this video in the first place. And you want to know why? Well, just look at these characters. Bruise Leaf, All Cappuccino, Shaky Chain, Steamin' Senegal. How could I not give this game some attention? So what kind of game is this anyway? Well, it's a first-person shooter with elements of Minecraft, mostly the inventory and destroying blocks. You pick a skin for your character, hop into a map, and kill as many bad guys as possible. You can also make your own character skins. I must have spent over a half hour just making this guy, but it was totally... Oh. I stopped living. The controls were a bit difficult for me to figure out at first, but thankfully you have the option to customize the button layout however you like. Sadly, that's the only minor issue I can find a way to fix. You can carry different weapons that all have their own separate ammo counts, but when you switch between them, I wish there was a way for it to automatically reload your ammo for the weapon you were using before, because reloading takes a little too long, especially when you're being hunted down. Some of these guns are pretty cool, but even when I have one aimed directly at an opposing player, sometimes the bullets just don't seem to hit them. Aiming's another thing I seem to struggle with. The camera is a bit too sensitive when I'm using the right analog stick, and the gyro controls, ironically, aren't sensitive enough. So you gotta pick your poison. Do you prefer your camera controls to be slow or sluggish? And I hope you like being killed by enemies that don't even appear on the map, because practice mode has them in troves. Why is it like this? Do they only show up when they spot me? If killing people is my main objective, I should probably know where they are at all times. Oh, I died again. And aw, that's nice. Way to make me respawn in the middle of gunfire.
I was hoping this would be another hilarious game that I could just kick back and have fun with, but I don't want the video to end this way. We gotta go out on a high note. So, let's try one more game. Tiny Hands Adventure. Fun fact, the company that made it, Blue Sunset Games, actually reached out and sent me a review code for the game around the time it was released in August of last year. It looked like a classic 3D platformer, so being the curious cow that I am, I thought I'd give it a try. But I haven't really played it until now, so let's see what I've been missing out on.
Okay, so you're a dinosaur named Bordy who comes from village of Dinoburg. Bordy likes playing soccer and wants to be a better goalkeeper, so he goes to a fairy named Florella for help. She says she can make tools for him, but in order to do that, Bordy would need to defeat these things called Guardians and gather gems from different locations. So if there's no bad guy or cataclysmic event occurring, that means our reason for embarking on this epic fantasy adventure is to get good at sports. So my adventure continues. What do you mean? You've hardly done anything yet. Alright, I'm ready to move and... Well, he's definitely moving, but I'm not even holding the analog stick. There we go. Now that we're actually getting started, I suddenly feel like I've played this kind of game before. We're in a warp room with portals that lead to different levels. You have to collect crystals in each level in order to progress. You collect pieces of food to earn an extra life. The main character is an animal. He has a spin attack that can kill bad guys and break open boxes, which can also be jumped on. Did Blue Sunset Games not realize they were ripping off Crash Bandicoot? Or maybe it was intentional and they were just really bad at hiding it. It definitely doesn't feel like Crash, that's for sure. The controls are extremely jittery and counterintuitive. They only seem to work when they feel like it. And I swear, Bordy just does whatever he wants. It's as if the developers wanted to make an old-school 3D platformer, but use Lester the Unlikely as a basis. If it looks like I'm playing badly on purpose, I'm seriously trying my best. Look, he just walked off that platform all by himself. That was not my fault. Nothing in this game makes sense. Enemies seemingly pull you into them, crystals can be found in spots where you can easily die, explosive boxes are hidden in places where you can't even see them and you die just by walking into them, and the text boxes never use the word "it's" in the right context. But knowing how this game is, for all I know, maybe the phrase "collecting all the colored crystals in a stage will unlock it is hard variation" actually has some meaning. I doubt that English is this company's first language. I've counted more grammatical errors than there are brain cells in the minds of EA executives. But that shouldn't have been too hard to accomplish. Look at this stuff. It's better, defeat him fast. Prove me that you have what it takes. 2 is more than a number, guys. Ugh, this presentation. It's bland, lazy, and looks like a first-year college project at best. The music sounds like it was downloaded from a royalty-free music sharing website, and none of the songs fit in the levels you hear them in. Take this level, for example. It's a... Wait, where does the level take place? In space! Oh, yeah, that's it. Here's the kind of music you should be hearing. And here's what you actually get. Okay, let's try to keep calm and carry on. Hey, that sounds like it should be on a poster. So after getting the last red plastic floss container, we need to move forward. Here we are at our first boss fight. A blue hippo dressed like a carjacker. Alright, just gotta jump up to hit him and...
So in conclusion, Your Honor, this is one of the most bafflingly terrible games I've ever played in my life. It feels like it was made as a joke. Like a bunch of friends tried to think of the worst possible idea for a video game imaginable, and then we got this as a result of it. If it's supposed to be bad on purpose, then maybe the joke is on me. I have no way of confirming this, but if I'm right, then well played, Blue Sunset Games. Well played. And with that, my second look at the Nintendo Switch is now complete. In my first video, I said this thing had the potential to be a fantastic console. And amazingly, it not only managed to live up to my expectations, it surpassed them. The Switch has become my go-to gaming machine, and whether its games are good or bad, there's something here for everybody. Platformers, fighting games, racing games, technically good games ruined by cringy fanbases, and with the inclusion of YouTube, I'm sure we'll see things like Netflix or even Disney's new streaming service coming to the console at some point in the future. Bottom line, this system is definitely going to be sticking around for a while, and I look forward to seeing what's next for the hybrid. But now that this video is over, I'm not sure what to do next. Well, summer's coming pretty soon. Maybe I should do something special for it. Yeah. I'll put my thinking cap on for this. Let's see. What should I do? Something special. Summer of Mario's almost over, everybody. Something... The first annual Summer of Mario. Summer of Mario. Summer of Mario.
Summer of Mario.
Summer of Mario.
I've got it! This was a horrible idea. Out. No. Careful.
Aldo, thanks for watching, everybody. Before I go, I want to give another shout out to my very loyal Superstar supporter, Henry Newman. Thanks for your support, dude. It really, really means a lot. If you want to help support my channel as well, then please consider taking a look at my Patreon page. Also, you can now become an official channel member. Doing so gives you some of the same perks you'd get for supporting me on Patreon, but during live streams, you can use member-exclusive emojis like these, bum 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 bum, and you get a little badge next to your name in the chat to help you stand out. For more information, you can go over to my Patreon page or click the join button on the front page of my YouTube channel. You don't have to if you don't want to, but the options are there should you be interested. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys next time. Later.